Hello everyone. I invite you to continue listening to the horror story, which is thrilling and captivating. Don't forget to give me a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you everyone. Story: Abandoned Prison in Argentina. Beneath the earth of Buenos Aires. On the outskirts of Buenos Aires, where red dirt roads stretch endlessly through barren fields, there stands an old, abandoned prison. The locals call it Cárcel de las Sombras, the prison of shadows. No one knows exactly when it was built, but the stories about this place are countless, whispered in dimly lit taverns or passed down as warnings by old women rocking on their porches. They say that beneath its cold, crumbling foundation, there are things that don't belong to the world of the living. My name is Javier Morales, a freelance journalist with a penchant for chasing the strange and unexplained. At 32, freshly out of a breakup and restless, I was looking for something to keep me occupied. An old friend, Mateo, told me about Cárcel de las Sombras. He mentioned a rumor. In 1978, during Argentina's military dictatorship, a group of prisoners vanished without a trace. No records, no reports, no explanations. Mateo dared me to investigate, smirking as he added, "If you make it out alive, tell me all about it." I didn't believe in ghosts, but I craved the thrill of the unknown. So I packed my gear, a camera, a flashlight, a recorder, and a notebook. On November 15th, I drove west from Buenos Aires toward the desolate spot where the prison loomed like a forgotten relic. Day 1, stepping into darkness. I arrived as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky a blood-red hue. The prison emerged before me, a gray, decaying structure with moss-streaked walls and rusted iron bars. The main gate had long since crumbled, leaving only 2 stone pillars standing like silent sentinels. I stepped through, and a frigid chill hit me despite the summer heat. Inside, the main hallway stretched long and dark, my flashlight barely piercing a few meters ahead. The air reeked of mildew and something faintly rancid I couldn't place. Cell doors lined both sides, some locked tight, others broken open, revealing cramped, empty rooms. I switched on my recorder, speaking into it. Day 1 at Cárcel de las Sombras. The air feels heavy, unnaturally still. Nothing unusual yet. I ventured deeper, reaching an area said to have held political prisoners during the dictatorship. The walls here were thicker, the doors made of steel, and deep claw marks scarred their surfaces. I ran my fingers over one gouge, imagining someone's fingernails scraping through metal in desperation. My pulse quickened, but I brushed it off as imagination. Then I heard it, a faint hiss like wind slipping through a crack, though no breeze stirred this place. I paused, listening. The hiss morphed into a whisper, too soft to make out. I swept my flashlight around, but there was nothing but darkness and rotting walls. "Probably rats," I muttered, steadying myself. That night, I pitched my tent in what I assumed was an old dining hall, a larger cell with cracked benches. I unrolled my sleeping bag, ate some bread, and set the recorder to capture sounds overnight. As I lay down, the whispering returned, clearer now, like distant voices. I sat up, grabbed my flashlight, but the hall outside remained silent. My recorder began to emit static, though I'd swapped its batteries just before coming here. I checked it, still working, but the audio was distorted, layered with odd crackling. I drifted into an uneasy sleep, dreaming of gaunt figures in tattered prison uniforms staring at me with milky, lifeless eyes. Day 2, traces of the past. I woke the next morning feeling drained, as if I hadn't slept at all. My recorder's battery was dead, despite being rated for 48 hours. I rewound the tape, and my heart nearly stopped when I heard a voice, not mine. It was hoarse, trembling, repeating in Spanish, "No nos dejes aquí, don't leave us here." The voice had no clear source, interwoven with the crackling I'd noticed the night before. I resolved to explore deeper, descending to the prison's basement, rumored to be the old torture chambers. The stairs plunged into pitch blackness, each step coated in dust and cobwebs. As I went lower, the air grew oppressive, pressing against my chest. The basement sprawled wider than I'd expected, with narrow, twisting corridors leading to small rooms. In one, I found a rotting wooden table stained with dark, dried blood. Nearby, a rusted chain lay loose on the floor, its end matted with what looked like human hair. I snapped photos, forcing my hands to stay steady. Then I spotted a small iron door at the end of a hallway half hidden in shadow. Scratched into its surface was a jagged inscription, *Aquí termina la luz*, here ends the light. I pushed the door, but it didn't budge. Bracing my shoulder, I shoved harder, and it swung open with a piercing screech. Inside was a circular room, its rough stone walls windowless and unyielding, the only exit the door I'd entered. At its center gaped a deep hole, about a meter wide, like an abandoned well. I aimed my flashlight down, but the beam didn't reach the bottom. Instead, I heard a faint trickle of water impossibly far below. I dropped a pebble, waiting for it to hit bottom, but no sound came back. Suddenly, my camera vibrated, its screen flickering before going blank. I cursed under my breath, its battery was still full. As I looked up, I glimpsed a figure in the corner, tall, emaciated, head bowed, clad in a shredded prison uniform. I stumbled back, dropping my flashlight. When I snatched it up and shone it again, the corner was empty. My heart hammered, but I told myself it was sleep deprivation playing tricks. I left the room, slamming the iron door shut, and returned upstairs. That night, sleep eluded me. The whispering no longer felt distant, it buzzed just outside my tent, as if someone stood inches away, murmuring endlessly. Day 3, the truth below. By the third day, I was certain I wasn't alone. My electronics kept malfunctioning, the recorder spat warped noises, my flashlight flickered erratically. I decided to stay one more day, driven to uncover the truth about the well in the basement. Something about it wouldn't let me leave. I brought a long coil of rope, tying one end to a table leg in the basement and lowering the other into the well. I wasn't planning to climb down, just measure its depth. But as I fed the rope in, it kept going, as if the well had no bottom. After about 50 meters, the line jerked taut, then yanked hard. Panicking, I let go, watching the rope vanish into the dark. Then I heard footsteps, not from above, but from below the well. Slow, deliberate, like someone climbing up. I backed away, heart pounding, clutching my flashlight. A bony, pale hand gripped the well's edge, its nails long and black. I screamed, bolting from the room and up the stairs without looking back. In the dining hall, laughter echoed, not cheerful, but low and guttural, mocking my fear. I spun around, spotting a figure at the hallway's end. Tall, skeletal, in a prisoner's rags, its face obscured by shadow. It didn't move, just stood there, watching me. "Who's there? Say something," I yelled. No reply. It vanished when I blinked, as if it had never been. I checked my watch, 3 a.m. I couldn't recall how long I'd been in the basement, but time shouldn't have slipped away that fast. Final day, escape. By morning, I'd had enough. I didn't care about the story, I just wanted to survive. As I packed, I found my notebook torn to shreds, pages scattered across the floor. On one scrap, written in red ink, were the words *Quede con nosotros*, stay with us. I raced out of the prison, leapt into my car, and sped off without a backward glance. On the drive back to Buenos Aires, whispers drifted from the back seat, but the rearview mirror showed nothing. That night, safe in my apartment, I replayed the recorder. Beyond the pleading "don't leave us here," a deeper, colder voice emerged. *Elia es nuestro*, he's already ours. I've never returned to Cárcel de las Sombras. But every night, when I turn off the lights, I hear the whispers. Sometimes in the mirror, I see shadowy figures standing silently behind me. Next is a more fascinating story about the horror prison where the terrifying and dangerous female prisoners of Argentina are held. The curse beneath the snowy hills. In the desolate expanse of Patagonia, Argentina, where frigid winds whip across snow-draped hills, there stands an abandoned prison known as Cárcel de las Mujeres Malditas, the prison of the damned women. Built in the early 20th century, it was designed to confine the most perilous female inmates society had ever seen. Serial killers, sadists who tortured their victims with smiles on their faces, and those whispered to have ties to the supernatural. But in 1953, the prison abruptly shut down after a night of unspeakable horror no one dared recount. Since then, it has lain forsaken, shrouded in ice and rumors of restless spirits. My name is Sofia Alvarez, a 28-year-old documentary filmmaker drawn to dark tales. I first heard of Cárcel de las Mujeres Malditas from an archaeologist acquaintance who'd uncovered an old document suggesting the women there weren't just dangerous, they performed forbidden rituals under the full moon. I decided to make a film about it, packing my camera, lights, and enlisting Lucas, a young, eager assistant who was a bit of a coward. We set out on December 20th, in the heart of Patagonia's brutal winter. Day 1, the song in the wind. The drive to the prison took nearly a day over rough, snow-laden roads. We arrived at dusk, the pale moonlight illuminating the gray stone walls perched atop a lonely hill, surrounded by a dense, black pine forest that cut it off from the world. The main iron gate hung broken in two, revealing a dark, icy entrance. Lucas shivered as he stepped out of the car, his breath forming white clouds. "This place looks like a horror movie set," he said, voice trembling. I laughed, clapping his shoulder. "That's why we're here." I switched on my camera, recording the scene. Cracked, weathered walls, shattered windows webbed with frost, and the wind howling through gaps like a mournful wail. Inside, the main hallway stretched narrow and long, the stone floor freezing underfoot. Tiny cells lined both sides, empty but marked by scratched messages clawed into the walls. Asterisk Ellis Nunca Dormin, they never sleep. I filmed it, a chill creeping up my spine, though I blamed the weather. That night, we set up camp in a large room I guessed was once a common area. I positioned the camera in a corner, set it to record continuously for any odd sounds or sights. As I settled into my sleeping bag, I heard something strange, not the wind, but a high, mournful song echoing from afar. Lucas bolted upright. "Did you hear that?" I nodded, grabbing my flashlight and stepping into the hall. The singing guided us to a rotting wooden door at the far end. I pushed, but it wouldn't budge. The song stopped instantly, leaving an oppressive silence. Day 2, shadows in the mirror. The next morning, we reviewed the overnight footage. At around 2 a.m., the camera caught a blurry figure. A woman standing in the corner, long hair obscuring her face, dressed in a tattered prison uniform. Lucas paled. "What's that?" We were asleep. I rewound, zooming in. She had no legs, her lower half dissolved into the darkness like mist. I decided to investigate beyond the wooden door from last night. With Lucas's help, we broke it down using an iron bar from the rubble. Inside, a narrow staircase descended, reeking of decay like a long dead corpse. I turned on the camera's attached light, heading down, Lucas reluctantly trailing behind. The lower level was a maze of tight corridors and smaller cells with rusted iron doors. In one room, we found a cracked mirror on the wall. Beneath it, a small stone altar stained with dried blood and melted candle stubs. I filmed it, then froze as I glanced in the mirror. Reflected behind Lucas and me were 3 women, their eyes milky white, mouths twisted into grotesque smiles. I spun around, nothing. Lucas trembled. "Did you see that?" "In the mirror." I nodded, forcing calm. "Maybe just a trick of the light," I said, unconvinced. We pressed deeper, reaching a larger room with a charcoal-drawn circle on the floor, etched with strange symbols I didn't recognize. At its center stood an iron chair, chains still wrapped around the armrests, as if someone had been bound there. That night, sleep evaded me. The singing returned, closer now, as if just outside our camp. Lucas whispered, "What do they want from us?" I didn't answer, clutching my camera like a shield. Day 3, whispers from the dark. By the 3rd day, things worsened. Lucas grew frantic, claiming he'd heard someone call his name in the night. I checked the camera, its battery was drained despite a full charge before we arrived. Replacing it, I found a new clip I didn't recall filming. Me asleep in my bag, a skeletal hand with long nails reaching from the ceiling, clawing the air above me. I resolved to study the strange circle downstairs. I photographed the symbols, planning to research them later, but as I bent to inspect them, a woman's laugh, sharp and malicious, rang out. It wasn't Lucas. I looked up to see him standing in the corner, eyes vacant, muttering. They told me to stay. I yelled, dragging him out, but he thrashed as if possessed. That night, Lucas vanished. I woke at midnight to find his sleeping bag empty. I shouted his name, searching the prison, but there was no reply, only the singing, now a clear, deathly hymn. I raced downstairs, finding his shoes beside the charcoal circle, but he was gone. From the shadows, a raspy, low voice spoke. Asterisk Elsie Cueto con nosotras. He stayed with us. Panic seized me. I ran upstairs, but the hallway seemed longer, as if the prison were shifting. Women's silhouettes appeared in every corner, motionless, staring with white eyes. I screamed, sprinting for the exit, only to find the broken gate now sealed shut, impossibly intact. Final day, escaping the curse. At dawn, I tried everything to escape. I pounded the gate with the iron bar, but it wouldn't yield. The singing surrounded me, blending with laughter and whispers. Asterisk quidate asterisk. Stay, stay. I returned for my camera and gear, determined to record final proof before finding another way out. Checking the footage, I saw Lucas standing in the circle, surrounded by women dragging him into the floor as if it swallowed him. Then the screen cut to me sleeping, a woman's face pressed to the lens, white eyes, a grin stretching ear to ear, whispering, asterisk tu iris la proxima asterisk. You're next. I threw the camera down, bolted outside, and noticed the snow had stopped. The iron gate stood wide open, as if it had never been locked. I leapt into the car and sped away without looking back. On the drive home, I swore never to return to Cárcel de las Mujeres Malditas. But every night, I hear the singing, and in my dreams, Lucas stands in the circle, beckoning, "Stay with us, Sophia."